Hey everybody, welcome to Goshen Prepping. If you caught yesterday's video, we talked about the war on salt, and if you didn't get a chance to see it, I'll link at the end of this video so you can go back and watch it. But there's a war on salt, and we talked about how salt is actually good for you. But is all salt good for you? Because there's numerous sources you can get salt, obviously, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up just like the typical great value plain salt, which makes you think it's actually really good. But you have to read the ingredients on salt because it should say ingredients, salt. But it often has other ones. For example, this one has yellow prussiate of soda. I have a chemistry degree. I don't know what prussiate. I don't know what that is. Yellow prussiate of soda. I do know this, though. It's an anti-caking agent. And you often find that in certain salts because it makes it so the salt doesn't clump. I don't care if my salt clumps. I could just declump it with my fingers. It works very well. But there's a connection with that anti-cake agent, actually all of mine do, with digestive problems. In fact, as of recently, in the past, decade or two, we have this thing called leaky gut syndrome. You ever heard of it? The word syndrome, by the way, that term literally means that, you know what, we see some kind of manifested disease in someone, but we have no idea what causes it. Because you don't want the doctor to say, I don't know what causes that. You just simply call it leaky gut syndrome. That sounds good. So there's been all kinds of different syndromes that have taken place throughout years, and some of them, we literally find the cause of it, and it's no longer a syndrome technically, but it's still basically around. So we know it causes things, but when it comes to this, leaky gut syndrome, maybe they do know, because we do see a connection, by the way, to certain ingredients. It's usually ingredients to help your food, like, for example, an anti-caking agent, and making it so now you actually have problems with the digestive tract. Something else we find in sugar sometimes, which blows my mind, is dextrose, sugar. They actually put sugar in salt sometimes. I'm assuming they do it for flavor. But carbs, we've talked about carbs all the time, are bad, and dextrose is not what you want in your salt. Thirdly, sometimes we find potassium iodide. Now, you probably know about potassium iodide because it's the tablets you take in case of like a nuclear emergency. I would still take it then. But potassium iodide, if you didn't know, is actually a synthetically made molecule. And more specifically, if you find that in your salt, it's also been linked to digestive upset and even inflammation of your salivary glands. Interesting, right? Now, again, if there's a nuclear emergency, I'd rather have the digestive upset than die from thyroid cancer. All right. But when it comes to salt, there's really 3 different salts I want to look at. And I'm not saying don't buy just some real plain salt, not the one with anti-caking agent, but if you find like a container of salt or iodized salt, that might be okay. But this really is that white refined salt. What I mean by that is all the minerals, trace elements, things that actually help your body have been bleached and removed from this. It really is not that good for you. And the salty taste to it is actually, in reality, a little bit bland. So when you look at different types of salts, there's actually other ones you can buy on the market that give you those trace elements and minerals, and I want to talk about those for just a minute. The first one is called Redmond salt. It's called that because it comes from a town called Redmond, Utah. They mine the salt. It is pure salt and minerals. They do not purify it, which is so good for you, and has over 60 trace minerals and elements. Now, some studies will tell you that, you know what, it has trace minerals, trace elements in it, and since they're trace, that they don't even come close to actually having the recommended daily allowances put out by the government. That doesn't mean anything. The word trace is there for a reason, because it used to be every time you just eat food off the ground back in the day, you would get those trace elements, and over a long period of time, it would build up and up and up. So I am a firm believer in things like Redmond salt. Now, I'll be honest with you, Redmond salt I've never tried, but for going through this video, I'm certainly going to buy some and try it out, because it's not simply just about being more healthier for you, which it is. Having those trace elements and minerals is so good for you, but it actually enhances the salt flavor. And how about you? I'm a salt guy. I know we have people who are what's called a sugar tooth, and it's funny because, or a sweet tooth, you call that because that's what it does, is rot your teeth. I need to have like a really cool term, like a salt tooth. That's what I am. I'm a salt tooth. I love salt. Salt and stuff, it's amazing, amazing, good flavor. I love the flavor of salt on things. And of course, yesterday's video talked about the war on that. Well, forget your war. I like salt. And in that video, really showed how that war is simply unfounded. But nothing better than salt, but even better, having flavored salt. Salt that actually comes with the original chemicals, the original flavorings. And in Redmond, what it is the salt mine's underneath the ground, but there's bentonite clay above it. And if you ever want to dig out a pond, by the way, it's up here in Michigan anyway, it's known you put bentonite clay down so that way the water won't penetrate and your pond will stick around. Well, since that entire mine, it used to be like some kind of ancient seabed, has a layer of bentonite clay on top. The water can't come down from today's chemicals and wash down and cause contamination or wash the salt away. So therefore, they have this huge salt mine in Redmond. All right, the second kind of salt is a salt that I have and a salt I love, Himalayan pink salt. Now, when it comes to Redmond's is great because they take it from the salt and sell it to you. There you buy it. Himalayan pink salt is really interesting. It actually comes from not the Himalayas. I don't know if you know that. It actually comes from 180 miles from the Himalayas. But you know what? The name's really catchy. It's Himalayan salt, which gives it some kind of like metaphysical happiness to it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's from the Himalayas. It must be amazing. And it is amazing, by the way. But it comes from Pakistan. And they have one mine in the world. In fact, it's the second largest salt mine in the world in Pakistan, in which they pull out this pink Himalayan salt. Really good stuff. Pink Himalayan salt actually has over 80 minerals and trace elements in it, and that is fantastic. Same thing, they don't wash those elements out. The difference between Redmond's and Himalayan pink salt is this. Redmond's, the company of Redmond's, takes it out and sells it. You know it's quality control coming straight from them. You're good to go. But Himalayan pink salt, there's all kinds of different types of brands you could buy. Just have to read the ingredients because sometimes guess what they do? They put anti-caking agent in them. This one, I looked for this. Ingredients, Himalayan pink salt. Period. So you can find ones that are just the pink salt and everything's good about that. But you have to be careful because they will outsource it and sell it to other people. And therefore, you'll get some other stuff in there, which I don't think is the best thing. All right, including potassium iodide, by the way. Some of the Himalayan pink salt actually has potassium iodide in it. So between the two, by the way, I haven't tried Redmond's yet. I'm a big fan of pink Himalayan salt because it's not simply just about salt, which I love, but it actually has a very unique flavor to it, which is great for cooking. The third type of salt is called Celtic Sea Salt. And in this area of France, literally what happens is the seawater comes in, the tide comes in, it's channeled into basins, evaporation takes place and leaves the salt with the minerals too. It has 60 trace elements and minerals in it too, which is always a good thing. But the difference between that one is Celtic sea salt actually retains some of its moisture and some of the clay type stuff with it too. So it's usually kind of like a very moisture-ridden salt. I'll say it again, I've never tried it. For me personally, even though the company says this doesn't happen, for the fact that we have seawater, ocean water moving in and evaporating, leaving the elements there, makes me wonder what else is in it. The company assures everybody on their statement that, oh no, it's good. There's no like contaminants they test for that thing on there. And maybe they do. I'm not trying to say they don't. But for me specifically, I worry about contaminants, especially contaminants in the ocean, because the ocean used to be nice and clean. Unfortunately, not so much anymore. All right, trace elements and minerals, you want to have those in the salt. Again, if you just go with like just regular plain white salt, which I do use on occasion, does have some ingredients in there that may cause digestive problems. If you haven't had a chance, try some Himalayan pink salt. And I'll link this below, by the way. But you know what? In the last part of this video, I want to ask you, because we always have big groups of people who try these different salts, who likes what? Who out there loves just white refined salt? I'll be honest with you, I do. It's tasty, not the best for you. Who out there likes Redmond's? I'm about to order some and try it myself. Who out there likes the Himalayan pink salt? I do. It's good stuff. Then finally, who likes the Celtic Sea Salt? Have you ever tried it before? Put it in the comments below. Tell me which is your favorite. Tell me which ones you don't like, and let's go ahead and share this. But again, if you haven't had a chance, go check out this video, and this video goes back into yesterday talking about how salt, it's really not that dangerous thing people claim it is.